This is your daily dose of all things royal.
And I'm talking from the king standpoint because, you've heard some stories about him taking money from Qatar and, his relationship with Muslims in the past and Islam and, how he'll be very complimentary to Muslims, but not as often complimentary to Christians. Do you think this is something that comes all the way from the top?
Well, what we haven't, again, the king, as you know, constitutionally doesn't have anything other than a sort of, he's the titular head of our constitution. So he's, after the Civil War, he ceased to be, if you remember, the Civil War was basically about the divine right of kings. So he sits at the top. Constitutionally, he's very important, Patrick, because he also technically is under our constitution supposed to be defender of the faith. That is his role. And that faith is the Church of England. Now, I did a lot of work for the Prince's Trust, and I have met King Charles on a few occasions. I don't know what he is or isn't doing to influence this situation. If he was a good man, he would be reading this report and he would be influencing it in the right way. And I think he should be, in my opinion, underlining the fact that he is defender of the faith, whereas he, I think, I'm right in saying, prefers to be described as defender of faiths. Well, you can't be defender of the faith and also be defender of faiths. You have to be defender of the faith if you are head of the Church of England, which is what he is.
Well, the only reason I asked that is because in 1996, I'm sure you've read it, the Grand Mufti of Cyprus, Nazim al-Haqqani, claimed Prince Charles had secretly converted to Islam in Turkey. And we've read this before. So to me, if that were to happen, then one could speculate and say, okay, fair, maybe that's his religious belief and he's converted, and to each his own, but maybe that's why he's slightly more protective. Now, of course, that's speculation, but when you read articles like this, you wonder if the influence is coming all the way from the top.
Well, he certainly, he has Muslim worship at Windsor and things. He's certainly very keen to propagate a multicultural society, which, again, I have no problem with if people integrate and they accept the prevailing laws and culture of the people they come and live amongst. If you or I visit or go and live in an Arab or a Muslim country, I would expect to integrate and pursue their culture and their practices, which, again, I've often been to Dubai and Abu Dhabi and other parts of the Gulf, and at the end of the day, if I'm there, and we're in Eid or we're in Ramadan, I try and ensure that I'm respectful of the way they live their lives. But it doesn't appear from this report that necessarily is reciprocated when you read it. Well, and I can't comment really on King Charles because I don't know well enough, but I do think his role is defender of the faith, and I think that says it all in my view.
Yeah, it's kind of weird when in 2025 you deliver an Easter message and 2026 you say you don't. One can only speculate why you protect as much as you do. It's a little strange. A country that used to be the financial capital of the world. U.S. and U.K. are tied historically for the rest of our lives, whether anybody likes it or not. So maybe,
and so we should be. So we should be.
We should
Patrick,
be. I agree.
We are, and particularly you are, and you've got this proud history of since the founding fathers. And I have the greatest respect and admiration for those great men who wrote the U.S. Constitution. You have the greatest respect for individual freedom, and if you read our report, I don't think necessarily that individual freedom is something at the top of the Islamic agenda, and that I think is something people should be concerned about, because I want to live in a country of individuals. I don't want to live in a collectivist country, and I've looked at enough history to know that collectivism doesn't work. It crushes individualism. And it's individuals who create the best outcomes for a society. And We've seen that in the US, we've seen it in the UK. Many of the best things in the world come from the UK and the US, and it comes from the fact we're free people. And you know, if you look at the battle we had when I was young against the USSR, that collapsed. That was sort of collectivism versus individualism. And I think we need to, both of us, pull each other up by the boots and remember what we are and who we are, and propagate individualism and fight collectivism. I really think never in history has there been a time when we need to do that more.
It was such a fraud.